Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a what's for dinner video, and I make these 4 recipes all the time. The first one is sort of an appetizer, and then I have 2 dinner recipes, and then the last thing I have like a little snack. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Alissa, and I post on Tuesdays, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. This first recipe is more of an appetizer, but I like it so much that I would just eat it as a dinner. And I learned this recipe from my friend back in college. Every Sunday we would have wine night and we would always make this. So I got all of this stuff from Trader Joe's. This loaf of bread is sourdough, and I usually try to get the ones that are pre-cut, but they didn't have it this time. So now I'm just going to struggle and cut the whole thing into slices. This little package has provolone cheese, I believe, and salami in it. And if you do go to Trader Joe's, definitely look for this because it makes it so easy. It's all nice in this little package. And I'm going to cut those in half just so that they fit on the bread a little better. And then that is what's going to go on top of the bread. This step is what makes it extra good, so I'm just putting butter down on all of these pieces of bread and struggling a little bit again because the butter wasn't quite soft enough to spread. And then a little bit of garlic salt on top of that, and then I'll put the meat and cheese on. I think I always put the meat and cheese on differently, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think the best way to do it would be to put 1 piece of cheese on the bottom and then the meat and then 1 piece of cheese on the top, just because the cheese melts and then it'll stick to the bread on the bottom and then kind of hold the meat in on the top. I bake this on 350 degrees for 10 minutes, and then I can't remember if I did it this time, but I like to broil it at the end just for like a minute or 2, and that's what makes the cheese have like a golden color on the top. So this is what it looks like when it's all done, and then I usually just cut them in half and then eat them just as they are. The next thing I'm going to be making is chicken Alfredo, and here are all the ingredients. And if you like Alfredo sauce and you've been buying it from the store, this is your sign to stop doing that because it's like only 3 ingredients, and when you make it yourself it tastes so much better. So right now I'm just using 2 chicken breasts, and I cut them in half. I think they just cook better this way. And I cook them at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And then I let them sit for 5 minutes, and I swear every time it cooks the chicken breast perfectly. Maybe it's just my oven, but definitely try to cook your chicken this way. For the seasonings, I'm first coating the chicken in olive oil, and then I'm using garlic salt, onion powder, and Italian seasoning, and then I'll just do that on both sides. I like to put mushrooms and spinach into my Alfredo sauce, but if you don't like that, then you can just skip this step. But I'm cooking up the mushrooms and then adding spinach to that, and then I'll just set that aside once that's done and then cook the Alfredo sauce in this exact same pan. Also, what I didn't show is that I probably cooked the mushrooms for about 5 minutes before adding the spinach, and then the spinach literally takes probably 30 seconds and then it was all done. I lied earlier, the Alfredo sauce is actually 4 ingredients if you count the minced garlic. So I'm putting 1 spoonful of that into my pan, and then I'm just going to let that cook for about 30 seconds. And then next, 1 cup of heavy cream. And then 4 tablespoons of butter. And then I'm just going to let that butter fully melt before I put the Parmesan cheese in. Now that the butter is all melted, I'm going to add the cheese, and I add half the bag and then stir it around, and then I'll add the other half. You can honestly add as much cheese as you want. I believe the recipe calls for 1 1/4 cups, which is what the whole bag is, and you can see it's starting to thicken up. Once all the cheese is fully melted is when I add back in the mushrooms and spinach, and then just stir it up, and then the sauce is all done now. For the pasta, I usually use rotini, and I'm actually using half bonza and half just regular pasta because this was the first time I ever tried the bonza rotini, and it's made out of chickpeas. And I just figured in case I hate it, at least it's half regular noodles, but I actually really liked it and I would recommend it. Now it's 30 minutes later and the chicken is all done. So like I said, I just let that sit for 5 minutes. And then here's what all of the food looks like when it's all done. And then how I eat it is I just put the sauce on top of the noodles and usually the chicken, but on this plate I didn't do that. And that's all. The next thing I'm making is fried rice, and this is just a vegetable fried rice, but you can also add meat, add whatever meat you want, and it's also really good. So I'm starting by cooking the rice, and I did 1.5 cups, but honestly just do 1 cup because it makes a ton. And you want to do this a little bit beforehand because it's best if the rice can cool completely before you add it to the whole fried rice mixture. It's just a texture thing. If it's still hot and fresh, the rice will be a little bit gummy instead of on the more crispy side. Now, as you can see, I'm prepping the vegetables, and you can actually just use whatever vegetables you want. I'm doing mushrooms, celery, carrots, and lima beans because I usually do peas, but I didn't have any peas. So I decided to try lima beans, and if you like lima beans, you will also like this, but if you don't, you can definitely taste them. I don't know if they're necessarily a good substitute for peas, but I thought it was pretty good. This next ingredient is green onions, and this is more of a garnish, but don't skip it because it does add a lot of flavor. To cook the egg, you're going to crack 1 egg into a bowl and then add 1/2 of a tablespoon to that of soy sauce, or I use liquid aminos because it's healthier for you. Mix that together, and then in your pan you're going to want to put olive oil, and 1 spoonful of garlic, and let that cook for like 30 seconds. Then add your egg into that and let your egg cook all the way. Now the egg is done, so I'm just going to set that aside and then add a little more olive oil and my vegetables, but I'm just adding the mushrooms and celery first because those take a little bit longer to cook. Now back to my egg, I'm just slicing it into little tiny pieces. At this point, the mushrooms and celery had probably been cooking for around 5 minutes, so I'm adding the lima beans and the carrots. Two things I should have mentioned earlier was I did put the rice in the fridge to cool it all the way, and the other thing is make sure you use a really big pan for this because it does make a lot. So now I'm just adding that rice into the pan, and then I'm going to add the egg and the green onion and then 2 more tablespoons of the liquid aminos, and then I'll just mix all of that together and then just let it cook until it's all heated all the way through. The last recipe I have for you guys today is more of a snack, and this is a no-bake recipe as well, but these are peanut butter balls. So I'm starting with 3 cups of oats, and I recommend using quick oats because they help form the balls better. They just stick together better with the quick oats. And then I'm adding 1 cup of peanut butter, and I did just spray it with cooking spray so that the peanut butter doesn't stick to the cup. Now I'm doing honey, and same thing, spray it with the cooking spray, and then I'm doing half a cup of honey. The last ingredient is chocolate chips, and just add however much you want and then stir it all together. And I will be honest, this part is kind of a pain in the butt because it's really hard to stir sticky things like this. Now for the messy part, you're just going to grab a little bit at a time, form it into a little ball. It should look like this, and then just repeat that until it's all the way gone. I like to eat these as a breakfast, as a snack, and as a dessert. They remind me of a peanut butter granola bar and a cookie mixed together. They're kind of a hassle to make just because it is really messy, but they are worth it. They are really good. And then when they're all done, they'll look like this. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next Tuesday.